So this part of the composting process involves, you guessed it, the hens. And they've been inside this coop now for several months. And once the camera focuses, you can see in the background, if it ever focuses, in the background is what happens when you have litter on the ground for several months. See, all that used to be wood chips, and I've been throwing in leaves and grass clippings and vegetable scraps, and they've eaten all that stuff. They've kicked it around, scratched it up, pooped in it, and now it's turning into that rich, dark, composty looking stuff that I'm now going to be able to, well, if I needed to, I can compost it. Or in the fall, I can just chuck it out onto the ground and it'll be mellowed by the springtime. So I can do either or at this point in time. It's the end of September, so I have options there. And you can see some more dry stuff in the covered, sheltered area over there. That stuff doesn't really get wet, and so that's a lot of dry chicken manure and wood chips and stuff over there. And of course they're just making a big old mess of their feeding area. You're just messy. Just messy chickens. But yeah, they make good compost. So another part of the composting process is the vegetable matter that comes out of the garden. So as you can see, a lot of this is starting to get cleared out. It's the end of September. And so now I'm cutting all that off and taking it out of the garden. I'm going to throw it here on the lawn. And what I'm going to do is run the lawnmower over this. And so there's going to be some dry woody material in there from the bigger stalks. There's going to be all the fruit and the leaf matter. And all that's going to be chopped and blended up. And I'm going to be chucking that into a compost bin so that it can cook down. So a lot of this stuff, when you're growing tomatoes like this, I mean, it's going to be heavy, woody. I'm not going to say woody. I shouldn't say woody. It's thick branches that aren't going to compost well, and so running it through a giant blender will break it all up and allow the decomposition to be sped up much faster than if I just left it all as large chunks. So there's a lot of material out here, especially the bean stalks and stuff that really have to come out. But I'm taking out the tomatoes and some of the squash. They're pretty much done. I got a little bit more to go. And so yeah, so all of that comes out into the grass, and so I'm also going to mow the lawn while I'm at it. And so all of that is going to be blended up and thrown in a compost bin for decomposition. So that's another source of compost for me. And with all this grass here, I've got a giant field out there, and I'm going to have all these trees just about to start dropping their payload. So I'm going to be using the lawnmower again and again and again. I'm going to be cutting the grass, I'm going to be chopping up the dry leaves, and that's all going to get blended together and put into these large bins, which are already full, so I'm going to have to make a few more and see what I can do about getting all that material piled up and put into piles so that they can decompose. So I mean, this is just some of the stuff that I've already chopped up out of the garden, and I had it in a pile, spread it out, and it's already gone moldy. It's already really hot. Hopefully I'm going to try this and lift this up. And just the steam coming off that right now is incredible. That is hot stuff. Yeah. Lots of heat coming off of that. So I'm going to keep doing that, keep piling it up, and that'll break down pretty fast. I should say I'm also mixing in the coffee grounds and stuff with this too. So that's another source I'll probably get to. in just a few minutes. But yeah, I'm adding coffee grounds, leaves, grass clippings, garden waste, chicken compost, all kinds of stuff. And that's what fuels the garden. Not that it's looking so great being the end of September, but yeah, it does the trick. So out here in the wilds beyond the garden is yet another source of composting material that has literally gone wild. This is where I'm starting to plant some more of my fruit trees, and this is my lawn. And that's my lawn. And so I go out here, and every once in a while, not too often, I try to get out here and mow it down for all the grass clippings. When I can't say that's really all that much grass. It's more like vetch, crabgrass, goldenrod, whatever these bushes are. They're trying to grow up. Blackberries, strawberries, all kinds of stuff in there. So I try to get all that into a mulching mower and chop all that down for green material. I have a lot of nitrogenous material to go through. And then I'm still collecting. I got stumpage I got to do stuff with. Just trying to collect all this material. And then of course I'm waiting for all these leaves to fall. Waiting for fall, and then I can use the carbon from the leaves and the nitrogen from the grass clippings and use that for more compost. More and more compost. That's pretty much what you're doing when you're not growing the garden, is making compost. Because that will be the fuel that drives your garden. It's the fuel that drives the growth. It's the fuel that drives the nutrient cycle and the soil ecology, as well as just creating the environment necessary for soil life. And that's the covering and smothering. And once you've got some of those things down pat and they're working for you, I mean, it works. And so once the growth starts happening, you can't stop it. Alright, so now here is the fall, and the leaves have dropped and they're all over the lawn. And so now what you got to do is rake them all up and get them into your garbage bags, or into at least some sort of storage container, so that they don't continue to blow all over the place until you have a chance to use them in your no-dig garden. So the best way to use leaves in either your no-dig garden, in the garden itself, or in your composting system is to shred them. So initially I was thinking, well, for my operations, if you want to shred leaves, you get a leaf shredder. So I did some research, and I've heard that this was the best one on the market for any actual real working tests. And so I purchased this a little while ago, but funnily enough, I've never used it. Now the reason I don't use it is because I have a massive garden. It is a huge garden, and I've got a large volume of leaves that I need to shred and prepare for the garden and the composting system. Now right now I had just raked up my neighbor's leaves. She's a nice person, and I liked helping her out and getting some work done around the yard for her, and so I raked up all her leaves, and that turned out to be about 82 bags. 82 bags to go through that little hole is a little too much. So I'm going to go back to the tried and true method of just running my lawnmower over this a few more times, and I'm going to shred this up and turn 82 bags into hopefully somewhere under 50 or so bags. And from there, I'll have the ability to mulch and cover the cardboard that I am currently spreading over the fruit orchard in the back there. And you can see the giant pile of bags I have back behind the fence outside the garden. And so I'm going to spread it out there in the fruit orchard, start covering up some of the grass that's been competing with my fruit bushes. And then I should have more than enough left over to use in my composting system, which is over there. I got my little 5-bay composting system going. Yeah, greenhouse cover's been taken off for the winter time. I'm not going to try even try to grow anything in the winter time. It's just not worthwhile. Yeah, I've got compost bins everywhere, and over there. So yeah, I have a lot of composting bins. I do a lot of composting, and I have a large garden which requires a lot of covering and smothering to reduce the weed growth. And when it's all shredded and composted, it goes out here onto the garden as a nice thick composting mulch layer that I can then grow plants in the following years. No digging, no back-breaking labor, other than raking up leaves. Kind of like that. So we're going to get started on that. I'm going to shred these up and get them ready for using in the garden. And there we have it. I just mulched up all these leaves, and there's a whole row all the way out to the lawnmower, and now I've taken 4 garbage bags worth of leaves and turned it into 2 garbage bags worth of leaves. So that's a pretty good reduction there. And what that will allow me to do is to get this spread out onto the garden beds, and it will knit and mat down, forming a nice solid smothering, covering mulch layer on the garden. And also, if I get enough of this done, this is the perfect material, the carbon material necessary when you're making large compost bins. During the summertime, you'll have all the access to fresh lawn clippings and garden waste and vegetable scraps, which is all very good and well for the nitrogen component, but you'll need to mix that with the carbon. And the best carbon source for anywhere that anyone can get, free, cheap, easy, is just a big old pile of leaves. So this is the best time to collect them, to shred them, because they're nice and dry. When you try to do this in the springtime, they're going to be all wet and soppy. Not so easy to shred. You'll have to dry them out. And so that's when I like to do this in the fall time, and I'll have a giant pile of carbon that I can use for my compost bins all through the following year. So when doing a no-dig garden, some of the hardest things to get is actually a lot of carbon material. And, well, leaves and pine needles are the way to go. So I got to get cracking. I've got 82 bags, 4 bags down, 78 to go. Got a bit of work to do. Just a little side note, I've created this little runway here, and I put up some old vinyl siding with some stakes just to keep too many of the leaves from jumping over and into the garden bed right now, because I actually want them over into the fruit orchard area. So yeah, why do I keep a bunch of scrap building materials around? It's because they're so useful for putting up temporary fences, and also this is a good way to actually keep leaves in a garden bed and where you want them. Is you just stick out some stakes in the ground, put some old vinyl siding. I mean, everybody's doing their siding and dumping out the old vinyl siding. Pick up some scrap vinyl siding and use that as a temporary low fence around the garden bed. Fill it full of leaves and compost, and that'll hold them in place for the wintertime and early spring. And you can take them, easy to set up and easy to take down. So yeah, I'm glad I had these lying around, and I got a lot of it. So I'm going to be able to make some nice deep beds, and the leaves are going to stay right where I put them. And yeah, that's it for now.